Hello everyone. We are glad to welcome you back to this month's edition of BookKey. In BookKey, we bring to you top book recommendations under 5 different categories that cater to the tastes of a large audience. These categories are Spotlight, where we discuss recently published books that are informative as well as insightful. Hidden Gem, where we unravel to you rare gem of books lost in the annals of time. The Classic Vault, where we look at the evergreen classics which never lose relevance. The Untold, where we lift the veil on lesser-known stories and facts about popular books and authors. Top 5, where we suggest to you 5 of the best reading choices from the current bestsellers. We are standing at the precipice in our time, the tipping point where we decide the fate of humanity, be it the decision we make to tackle climate change or how prudently we utilize technologies like genetic engineering. In context of this, we bring to you 2 very diverse books this month for our first section, Spotlight. Our first recommendation is The Precipice, Neoliberalism, the Pandemic and the Urgent Need for Radical Change by Noam Chomsky. Published by Haymarket Books, 4.3 stars on Amazon and 3.9 out of 5 on Goodreads. The Precipice is a vehement discussion of how American politics have changed, particularly over the past 40 years. This book of interviews with the noted scholar Noam Chomsky is a must-read, especially in these troubling times. Divided into 3 parts, it begins with Chomsky's razor-sharp analysis of neoliberalism, imperialism, the EU, the role of religion in politics, and class polarization. In the second, it focuses on the Trump presidency and lays out the long history of US foreign policy as well as other topics such as healthcare, global warming, and education policy. Finally, it looks at various alternatives, anarchism, communism, and socialism. This is an excellent collection of interviews that highlights Chomsky's encyclopedic knowledge of the key issues of our day and his unwavering criticism of the regime of the global 1%. Noam Chomsky is Institute Professor Emeritus in the Department of Linguistics and Philosophy at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Laureate Professor of Linguistics and Agnès Nelms-Haughey Chair in the program in Environment and Social Justice at the University of Arizona. His work is widely credited with having revolutionized the field of modern linguistics. Chomsky is the author of numerous best-selling political works which have been translated into scores of countries worldwide. Recent books include What Kind of Creatures Are We?, as well as Optimism and Despair and Internationalism of Extinction. Cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 346. The other recommendation under this section this month is The Code Breaker by Walter Isaacson. Published by Simon & Schuster, 4.7 stars on Amazon and 4.3 on Goodreads. In this book, Walter Isaacson profiles chemistry Nobel winner Jennifer Doudna and other scientists for their revolutionary gene editing tool, also taking into its sweep the ethical implications of the work. The Code Breaker is a gripping account of how the pioneering scientist Jennifer Doudna, along with her colleagues and rivals, launched a revolution that will allow us to cure diseases, fend off viruses, and enhance our children. In the spring of 2012, the Berkeley biochemist Jennifer Doudna and her collaborators turned the curiosity of nature into an invention that will transform the future of the human race, an easy-to-use tool that can edit DNA. Known as CRISPR, which is CRISPR, it opened a brave new world of medical miracles and moral questions. After helping to discover CRISPR, Doudna became a leader in wrestling with these moral and policy issues. Her life story illustrates that the key to innovation is connecting basic science to our everyday lives, moving discoveries from our labs to our bedsides, in ways that respect our moral values. It's a thrilling detective tale that involves the most profound wonders of nature, from the origins of life to the future of our species. This is a compelling and deeply fascinating read by one of the most prominent biography writers of our time. The detail and intricacy are second to none, and it is written in an accessible and engaging manner.
Walter Isaacson, a professor of history at Tulane, has been CEO of the Aspen Institute, chair of CNN, and editor of Time.
He is the author of Leonardo da Vinci, The Innovators, Steve Jobs, Einstein, His Life and Universe, Benjamin Franklin, An American Life, and several other books. Cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 449. In our second section, The Hidden Gem, this month we have a spellbinding and irresistible book that accounts the global pursuit of oil, money and power and addresses the ongoing energy crisis. The Prize, The Epic Quest for Oil, Money and Power
by Dan Yergin.
Published by Free Press, 4.7 stars on Amazon and 4.4 stars on Goodreads, is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize and hailed as the best history of oil ever written by Businessweek. Now, with an epilogue that speaks directly to the current energy crisis, the prize recounts the panoramic history of the world's most important resource, oil.
Dan Yergin's
timeless book chronicles the struggle for wealth and power that has surrounded oil for decades and that continues to fuel global rivalries, shake the world economy, and transform the destiny of men and nations. This updated edition categorically proves the unwavering significance of oil throughout the 20th century and into the 21st by tracing economic and political clashes over precious black gold. With his far-reaching insight and in-depth research,
Yergin
is uniquely positioned to address the present battle over energy, which undoubtedly ranks as one of the most vital issues of our time. The canvas of his narrative history is enormous, from the drilling of the first well in Pennsylvania through two great world wars to the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, Operation Desert Storm, and both the Iraq War and the current climate change. The definitive work on the subject of oil, The Prize, is a book of extraordinary breadth, riveting excitement, and great value, crucial to our understanding of world politics and the economy today and tomorrow. The excerpt here captures the essence of this book. Though the modern history of oil begins in the later half of the 19th century, it was the 20th century that was completely transformed by the advent of petroleum. In particular, three great themes underlie the story of oil. The first is the rise and development of capitalism and modern business. Oil is the world's biggest and most pervasive business, the greatest of the great industries that arose in the last decades of the 19th century. Standard Oil, which thoroughly dominated the American petroleum industry by the end of that century, was among the world's very first and largest multinational enterprises. The expansion of the business in the 20th century, encompassing everything from wildcat drillers, smooth-talking promoters, and domineering entrepreneurs to highly trained scientists and engineers, great corporate bureaucracies, and state-owned companies, embodies the evolution of business, of corporate strategy, of technological change and market development, and indeed of both national and international economies. Throughout the history of oil, deals have been done and momentous decisions have been made among men, companies and nations, sometimes with great calculation and sometimes almost by accident. No other business so starkly and extremely defines the meaning of risk and reward and the profound impact of chance and fate. The second theme is that of oil as a commodity intimately intertwined with national strategies and global politics and power. The battlefields of World War I established the importance of petroleum as an element of national power when the internal combustion machine overtook the horse and the coal-powered locomotive. Petroleum was central to the course and outcome of World War II in both the Far East and Europe. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor to protect their flank as they grabbed for the petroleum resources of the East Indies. Among Hitler's most important strategic objectives in the invasion of the Soviet Union was the capture of the oil fields in the Caucasus. But America's predominance in oil proved decisive, and by the end of the war, German and Japanese fuel tanks were empty. In the Cold War years, the battle for control of oil between international companies and developing countries was a major part of the great drama of decolonization and emergent nationalism. The Suez Crisis of 1956, which truly marked the end of the road for the old European imperial powers, was as much about oil as about anything else. Oil power loomed very large in the 1970s, catapulting states heretofore peripheral to international politics into positions of great wealth and influence, and creating a deep crisis of confidence in the industrial nations that had based their economic growth upon oil. Oil was at the heart of the first post-Cold War crisis, Iraq's 1990 invasion of Kuwait. A third theme in the history of oil illuminates how ours has become a hydrocarbon society, and we, in the language of anthropologists, hydrocarbon man. In its first decades, the oil business provided an industrializing world with a product called by the made-up name of kerosene and known as the new light, which pushed back the night and extended the working day. At the end of the 19th century, John D. Rockefeller had become the richest man in the United States, mostly from the sale of kerosene. Gasoline was then only an almost useless byproduct, which sometimes managed to be sold for as much as 2 cents a gallon, and when it could not be sold at all, was run out into rivers at night. But just as the invention of the incandescent light bulb seemed to signal the obsolescence of the oil industry, a new era opened with the development of the internal combustion engine powered by gasoline. The oil industry had a new market, and a new civilization was born.
Dan Yergin,
chairman of Cambridge Energy Research Associates and the global energy expert for the CNBC Business News Network, is a highly respected authority on energy, international politics, and economics.
Dr. Yergin
received the Pulitzer Prize for the #1 bestseller, The Prize, The Epic Quest for Oil, Money and Power, which was also made into an 8-hour PBS BBC series viewed by 20 million people in the United States. The book has been translated into 12 languages. It also received the Eccles Prize for the best book on an economic subject for a general audience. Cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 449. Moving on to our next section, the Classic Vault. This month we bring to you one of the most highly recommended books by many business magnates like Warren Buffett and Tim Cook. Shoe Dog, a memoir by the creator of Nike, by Phil Knight. Published by Simon & Schuster. 4.5 stars on Amazon and 4.5 on Goodreads. Number 4 in industries on Amazon. It is a refreshingly honest memoir about the strife and the struggles of Phil Knight as he worked relentlessly to build Nike into the power force that it is today. Split into chapters titled with the year in which the chapter is set, the book is a fast-paced, unput-downable tale that breathes life into a brand that today is known and loved for being at the core of both sporting and popular culture. Most of the suspense in the book is built by the precarious nature of Knight's finances. He started his shoe import business, known then as Blue Ribbon Sports, with $50 from his father. It was the beginning of many years of living in debt. He rarely had any savings in the bank because he would plow all his profits back into the company to order more shoes from Japan. Even as sales of his shoes took off, his business was constantly on life support. Meanwhile, he had a rocky relationship with his Japanese shoe supplier, whose executives were constantly eyeing other potential US partners despite Knight's success selling and helping to improve the designs of their shoes. Eventually, Knight broke away and started Nike, beginning another round of uncertainty. Knight details the many risks and daunting setbacks that stood between him and his dream, along with his early triumphs. Above all, he recalls the formative relationships with his first partners and employees, a ragtag group of misfits and seekers who became a tight-knit band of brothers. Together, harnessing the transcendent power of a shared mission and a deep belief in the spirit of sport, they built a brand that changed everything. Philip Hampson Knight, whose nickname is Buck, is an American businessman and philanthropist. He is the co-founder and current chairman emeritus of Nike Inc. and previously served as chairman and CEO of the company. The cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 260. The other book under this category is a #1 bestseller in new business enterprises on Amazon, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. Building a Business Where There Are No Easy Answers by Ben Horowitz. Published by Harper Business, 4.6 stars on Amazon and 4.2 stars on Goodreads. In this book, Ben Horowitz, co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz and one of Silicon Valley's most respected and experienced entrepreneurs, offers essential advice on building and running a startup. Practical wisdom for managing the toughest problems business school doesn't cover. His advice is grounded in anecdotes from his own hard-earned rise. From co-founding the early cloud service provider LoudCloud to building the phenomenally successful Andreessen Horowitz venture capital firm, both with fellow tech superstar Marc Andreessen, inventor of Mosaic, the internet's first popular web browser. While many people talk about how great it is to start a business, very few are honest about how difficult it is to run one. Ben Horowitz analyzes the problems that confront leaders every day, sharing the insights he's gained developing, managing, selling, buying, investing in, and supervising technology companies. A lifelong rap fanatic, he amplifies business lessons with lyrics from his favorite songs, telling it straight about everything from firing friends to poaching competitors, cultivating and sustaining a CEO mentality to knowing the right time to cash in. Filled with his trademark humor and straight talk, the hard thing about hard things is invaluable for veteran entrepreneurs as well as those aspiring to start their own new ventures, drawing from Horowitz's personal and often humbling experiences. Ben Horowitz is the co-founder and general partner of Andreessen Horowitz, a Silicon Valley-based venture capital firm that invests in entrepreneurs, building the next generation of leading technology companies. The firm's investments include Airbnb, GitHub, Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Previously, he was the co-founder and CEO of Opsware, formerly LoudCloud, which was acquired by Hewlett-Packard for $1.6 billion in 2007. Horowitz writes about his experiences and insights from his career as a computer science student, software engineer, co-founder, CEO, and investor in a blog that is read by nearly 10 million people. He has also been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the New Yorker, Fortune, the Economist, and Bloomberg Business Week, among others. Cost of the Kindle edition is Rs. 376. In our next section titled The Untold, this month we bring to you a captivating and perhaps the best chess story ever written. Chess Story. Published by Pushkin Press, 4.5 stars on Amazon and 4.3 on Goodreads. Also known as The Royal Game, is the Austrian master
Stefan Zweig's
final achievement, completed in Brazilian exile and sent off to his American publisher only days before his suicide in 1942. It is the only story in which Zweig looks at Nazism, and he does so with characteristic emphasis on the psychological. Travelers by ship from New York
to Buenos Aires
find that on board with them is the world champion of chess, an arrogant and unfriendly man. They come together to try their skills against him and are soundly defeated. Then a mysterious passenger steps forward to advise them, and their fortunes change. How he came to possess his extraordinary grasp of the game of chess and at what cost lie at the heart of Zweig's story. One of the most popular writers in Europe, the most translated in the interwar period,
Stefan Zweig
escaped the Nazi regime as a prominent writer. Since he thought Hitler's threat would spread throughout the world, he emigrated repeatedly and visited South America several times, considering the continent a promised land. An admirer of Argentina, he finally settled in Brazil with his wife. Having fallen in love with that country, he dedicated a whole book to its charm, Brazil, a land of the future. The book sold well but received negative feedback from critics who considered it excessively acquiescent and agreeable with the prevailing political system. This deepened Zweig's ongoing depression, which provoked his moving to the city of Petropolis. However, sunk in depression and victim of an ever-increasing persecutory delusion, he believed the Nazis would invade the world, including Brazil. He took a decision which was as erroneous as it was extreme, to commit a double suicide with his wife. The fatal casualty extinguished the couple's existence and Zweig's fame as a writer. His life was a drama with certainly not a pleasant outcome. Nevertheless, he died in the place he chose, the same place where he conceived one of his masterpieces, a novel about his beloved chess, a work considered a cornerstone of his legacy. Cost of the Kindle edition is rupees 333. Moving ahead to our last and final section, Top 5, we bring to you our picks from the crossword and Amazon bestsellers across different categories. In non-fiction category, we have Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products by Neer Eyal. 4.6 stars on Amazon and 4.1 on Goodreads, number 1 in business industries and profession book. Hooked is written for product managers, designers, marketers, startup founders, and anyone who seeks to understand how products influence our behavior. It addresses questions like, how do successful companies create products people can't put down? Why do some products capture widespread attention while others flop? What makes us engage with certain products out of sheer habit? Is there a pattern underlying how technologies hook us? Neer Eyal answers these questions and many more by explaining the hook model, a 4-step process embedded into the products of many successful companies to subtly encourage customer behavior. Through consecutive hook cycles, these products reach their ultimate goal of bringing users back again and again without depending on costly advertising or aggressive messaging. Hooked is based on Eyal's years of research, consulting, and practical experience. Published by Penguin, cost of the Kindle edition is rupees 298. Attitude is Everything by Jeff Keller. 4.5 stars on Amazon, 4.2 on Goodreads, number 18 in top 100 bestsellers. This is a success manual that gives readers a step-by-step plan for taking control of their lives and unleashing their incredible potential. The book consists of 12 lessons. Your attitude is your window to the world. You are a human magnet. Picture your way to success. Make a commitment and you will move mountains. Turn your problems into opportunities. Your words blaze a trail. How are you? Stop complaining. Associate with positive people. Confront your fears and grow. Get out there and fail. Networking that gets results. The book shows how author Jeff Keller used these principles to make a career transition from lawyer to motivational speaker, and shows readers how they too can make positive changes in every area of their lives. Published by Collins, cost of the Kindle edition is rupees 76. Next on the list in the fiction category, we recommend the Sunday Times bestseller and Richard and Judy Book Club pick, The Beekeeper of Aleppo by Christy Leftery. 4.5 stars on Amazon and 4.2 on Goodreads. This is an unforgettable love story of a mother blinded by loss and her husband who insists on their survival as they undertake the Syrian refugee trail to Europe. Nouri is a beekeeper, his wife Afra an artist. They live a simple life, rich in family and friends, in the beautiful Syrian city of Aleppo until the unthinkable happens. When all they care for is destroyed by war, they are forced to escape. But what Afra has seen is so terrible, she has gone blind. And so they must embark on a perilous journey through Turkey and Greece towards an uncertain future in Britain. On the way, Nouri is sustained by the knowledge that waiting for them is Mustafa, his cousin and business partner who has started an apiary and is teaching fellow refugees in Yorkshire to keep bees. As Nouri and Afra travel through a broken world, they must confront not only the pain of their unspeakable loss, but dangers that would overwhelm the bravest of souls. Above all, they must journey to find each other again. Published by Zafar, cost of the Kindle edition is rupees 296. Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. 4.5 stars on Amazon, 4.3 on Goodreads, a New York Times Notable Book 2020, Best Book of 2020 Guardian, Financial Times Literary Hub and NPR. Drawing on Maggie O'Farrell's long-term fascination with the little-known story behind Shakespeare's most enigmatic play, Hamnet is a luminous portrait of a marriage. At its heart, the loss of a beloved child. Award-winning author Maggie O'Farrell's novel breathes full-blooded life into this story of a loss usually consigned to literary footnotes and provides an unforgettable vindication of Aeneas, a woman intriguingly absent from history. Published by Tinder Press, cost of the Kindle edition is rupees 278. The last recommendation in this category we have Suli, One Man, One Hope, One Chance to Become a Legend by John Grisham. 4.4 stars on Amazon and 4.2 on Goodreads. New York Times best-selling author John Grisham takes you to a different kind of court, a basketball court in his latest novel. The central character, Samuel Sully, is a raw young talent with big hoop dreams and even bigger challenges of the court. As American success beckons, devastating news reaches Samuel from home. Caught between his dream and the nightmare unfolding thousands of miles away, Sully must make hard choices about his future. This quiet, dedicated boy must do what no other player has achieved in the history of his chosen game. Become a legend in 12 short months. Gripping and moving, Sully showcases John Grisham's unparalleled storytelling powers in a whole new light. Published by Hodder and Stoughton, cost of the Kindle edition is ₹325. With this, we have come to the close for this month's edition of the BookKey. In our last month's edition, in our trivia section, we asked you who wrote the line, "Where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise." The correct answer is Thomas Gray. It is an often quoted line from Thomas Gray's poem, Ode on a Distant Prospect of Eton College. The question for this month's trivia section is, Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere is set in an underground world of which city? Let us know your answers in the comment section below and we will reveal the answer in our next month's edition. If you found this video informative, give us a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also subscribe to Endeavor Careers for the upcoming follow-up videos. We will be delighted to know if you found our book recommendations informative and interesting. See you next month with more such specially curated recommendations for you. Until then, dream, endeavor, achieve, and happy reading.